Good morning.
So welcome to our second Sunday of Advent, being present for your peace. We are not passing our offering plate at this time. You can support the great work of New Journey by putting your financial gifts in the offering plate in the back of the sanctuary. There are two opportunities to give: our regular offering and the hardhat fund to help with maintenance of our buildings. Jean Osno continues to lead an Advent book study Sunday mornings at 9 and 5 weeks. There will be no study on Christmas Eve. Please meet in the fireside room of the education building. You can come even if you have not read the book. Faith Enrichment will meet on Tuesday, December 5th at 6:45 in the fireside room. Wednesday, December 6th, you are all invited to come and join a meal at the welcome table. You can help by volunteering or just come to the meal at 11:30.
Peace is not simply the absence of conflict. Peace is an ever-present gift that we can open at any time when we stop, breathe, and trust that we are never alone. And the gift of peace we can give is to be present for those who feel alone. We light this candle, peace, as a sign that we will be present with peace in the world. Ready the way, ready the way, ready the way. Please pray with me. Holy, living light of God, you are our peaceful presence. Let this peace grow in our lives each day, so we can be a present of peace to others. Unwrap and open our hearts. May it be so. Amen. Would you please rise if you are able and willing? So all those chained by fear
regular
Great job.
camera that everybody has. So, I don't have one of those. Yeah.
Went up there, so they said it was a good place to go, so I went. He and I went up there.
The prophet Isaiah lived in a time of exile, perpetrated on the Hebrews by the Babylonians. By the time we get to chapter 40, one of our readings for today, Isaiah's disciples are ready after the exile has ended. In this part of the book, we hear themes of comfort and peace, and the possibility that the paths of our lives can be cleared for new life. We also hear that we are always held in the peaceful presence of our God. Let us read these excerpts responsibly. Console my people, give them comfort, says your God.
Speak tenderly to Jerusalem's heart, and tell it that its time of service is ended.
A voice cries out, clear a path through the wilderness for Yahweh, make a straight road through the desert of our God.
Let every valley be filled in, every mountain and hill be laid low. Let every cliff become plain, and the ridges become valley.
Go up on a high mountain, you who bring good news to Zion.
Shout with a loud voice, you who bring good news to Jerusalem.
Shout without fear and say to the towns of Judah, here is your God.
Like a shepherd, you feed your flock, gathering the lambs and holding them close, and leading other ewes with gentleness.
The new churches of the first century church were encouraged by the writer of the letters called 1st and 2nd Peter. These churches were living in a confusing time as they struggled with the belief that Jesus' return was imminent, but was not yet coming to fruition. In our reading today, the writer invites them to wait with peaceful hearts, even in the midst of what feels like chaos. Hear this excerpt from the second letter of Peter. This point must not be overlooked, dear friends. In the eyes of the Most High, one day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. God does not delay in keeping the promise as some mean delay. Rather, God shows you generous patience, desiring that no one perish, but that all come to repentance. But what we await are new heavens and a new earth, where, according to the promise, God's justice will reside. So, beloved, while waiting for this, make every effort to be found at peace and without stain or defilement in God's sight. Consider our God's patience as your opportunity for salvation.
I heard the bells on Christmas Day, the old familiar carols play. Mild and sweet their songs would be, of peace on earth, goodwill to all. And the bells are ringing, like a choir singing. In my heart I hear them, peace on earth, goodwill to all. And in this its way. The world revolves from night to day. A voice of common chance sublime. Of peace on earth, goodwill to all. And the bells are ringing. Like a choir they're singing. In our hearts we'll hear them. Peace on earth, goodwill to all. Do you hear the bells that are ringing? Like the angels singing. Open up your hearts and hear them. Peace on earth, goodwill to
The second gospel reading of Advent from the Gospel according to Mark is the very beginning of the book, setting up the idea that this story of Jesus would be a transformative experience. Drawing on the prophet Isaiah, Mark tells his readers that God is making a way in the most difficult places, clearing open paths in the desert places. John the Baptist shows up in Advent, as he typically does, a sign that the time has come when the Messiah, born of the Spirit, will be present among us. Here begins the gospel of Jesus Christ, Son of God. As it was written in Isaiah the prophet, I send my messenger before you to prepare your way. A herald's voice in the desert crying, make ready the way of our God. Clear a straight path. And so John the Baptizer appeared in the desert, proclaiming a baptism of repentance and the forgiveness of sins. The whole Judean countryside and all the people of Jerusalem went out to John and were baptized by him in the Jordan River as they confessed their sins. John was clothed in camel's hair and wore a leather belt around his waist, and he ate nothing but grasshoppers and wild honey. In the course of his preaching, John said, one more powerful than I is to come after me. I am not fit to stoop and untie his sandal straps. I have baptized you in water, but the one to come will baptize you in the Holy Spirit.
Each week we are taking a lesson from the animals. From the book All Creation Waits, the Advent mystery of new beginnings. And this week, we are talking, you got an idea what this is? Can you see from there what this is? What we're adding to our little, anybody know? A bat. We're talking about the little brown bat this morning. And we're hanging ours on a tree up absolutely against what this book says, so just so you know that, okay? In the cave, upside down, little brown bats hang, thousands pressed together like a great fur coat, together sharing their body's heat. Winter froze the insects they eat. And without food, that's sleep. A sleep so deep their hearts barely beat, their lungs barely breathe. Except every 3 weeks, one rustles and jostles a neighbor who wakes a neighbor, and soon all the bats are whirling and peeing and pooping through the cave. All together, all winter they sleep and wake until something inside them whispers spring. Hungry and thin, they whoosh out flying their separate ways until another winter hurries them together back to the cave. And the reminder, the dark is not an end, it's a door, it's a way a new beginning comes. So how many speeds do you have on your bicycle? How many speeds do you have on your bicycle? 1, 3. So I was raised in the flatlands, the relative flatlands of central Minnesota, just like this, an hour and a half north of here, right? And so the first time I went to Colorado and we were picnicking in the mountains, and I saw somebody riding their bike up the mountain on a mountain path. I thought, oh my gosh, how on earth is that person doing that? Riding that 45-degree angle up toward the sky. Sometimes I really struggle with this gospel the passage from Isaiah, where we're going to fill in all the valleys and lower all the mountains and make everything milk toast and flat, right? I don't know if I want that, but when I think about that bicycle, I think that bicycle that has 21 speeds, and if you put it in the 21st gear, it just does so much of the work for you. And is that what Isaiah is talking about? Is not getting rid of the barriers to peace, but finding a way to get us there even when it's tough, even when it's the most difficult, because every year we talk about peace on the second Sunday of Advent. And so often it's this fluffy, unrealistic view of life. We're full of peace. But are we full of peace? And where does that peace come from? And why does peace feel so absolutely elusive time and time and time again? I would not call our world peaceful right now. At least not what we're hearing of the world. I would not call that feeling I get when I read something, or I see something on the news, or I hear something on the news that I just can't even comprehend the anger, what feels like evil to me. I can't comprehend that, and I get this feeling inside that is anything but peaceful. And sometimes it's just because somebody said something I disagree with. So where is this? I want to share with you some lyrics this morning. Because as I've been thinking about the second Sunday of Advent and peace, I've been thinking about this song. And okay, yes, those who know me, it's a Peter Mayer song. And so Peter Mayer is an artist outside of Stillwater, Minnesota, if you are new to my obsession with his lyrics and his music. It's called Looking for the Dove. And Peter wrote this right after the Twin Towers came down. He says, I remember she was here, It seemed to be her place to rest until a flood of blood and tears washed away her nest. Was it when we felt afraid? Or when we became us and them? Or when the plans of war were laid? Can you tell me, was it then that the bird of peace escaped our hands to find an olive branch of kindness and of love? Flew away, leaving us to stand, scanning the horizons and the dreary skies above, looking for the dove. I've seen hawks and I've seen crows and I've heard their angry cries. I've seen buzzards flying low, but haven't heard her lullaby. But we were foolish to believe that she would be an easy bird to keep. We gave her a nest, a bed to rest, but didn't know that even though she dreams the dove of peace, can never sleep. So the bird of peace escaped our hands to find an olive branch of kindness and of love. Flew away, leaving us to stand, scanning the horizon and the dreary skies above, looking for the dove. Come back to us, sweet dove. As I was reading commentaries and things about what to say on this day, what kept coming up stronger than ever from others who are pondering these verses this morning and this peace is that peace is not something we can create. Peace is something for which we can create a nest, an opening, a door. But the great irony is that the harder you try to capture peace, the less peace you find at the core of your being. And so I'm wondering how we find that peace within ourselves, because I know for me, the less I feel that sense of well-being on the inside, the less peace I put out into the world. And so how do we get there? How do we make that, how do you build your nest? That's what I want to ask you this morning, and I'm going to listen for a while, and then if I have more to say, but I want to hear, how do you build your nest for the dove of peace? And somebody should have a microphone. Yes, there we go. Anybody?
When I think of peace, one of the first things that comes to mind is this nostalgic little tune called The Little Tin Soldier that kids about 4th grade would learn. Where there was a little tin soldier carrying a great message that it brought to the world. And everybody wanted to hear it and have it for themselves. So a whole war would break out in order to capture this tin soldier and capture the treasure for themselves. And when the dust finally settled, they opened the treasure box and all it said was peace on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to just have to sing that next Sunday, right? Listen gently to the story.
Not that. He has a different version. I think she
Said okay.
Same.
All right. Same message. Okay. We will see both.
I think for me, the way to bring peace on my nest is for that is by being open to where other people are at and not judging and letting them be who they are. Because if you're trying to mold somebody else to your way of thinking, you're never going to feel peace because you can't do that.
Absolutely.
For me, first I have to feel peace within myself.
And do you have tricks for that? That's my question, for finding that peace within yourself, you know?
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Jill, I would suggest that when you're trying to build the bike, rather than being with your number 21,
Okay.
you need to get an electric bike. That evens the blame a lot.
Okay.
My comment about peace is that I find peace mostly when I spend it with people I like and enjoy and love, and the contentment that can bring. That then is able to carry over to situations that are more awkward and more tense myself.
To kind of build on what Jim and John said, I think building the nest requires making it bigger than you think it needs to be.
Okay. Because if you spend time with the people you love and care about, that feed your soul and remind you who you are, then you can also be reminded that there are people outside of that nest that might fit into it. And you're letting one little thing perhaps get in the way of that being part of your bigger circle. It's always huge for me to try to step back and remember that my experience has not been somebody else's experience, right? So when I get angry when I read something and say, how can that person even think that way? Perhaps their life experience is completely different than mine, and the only way to survive was to think that way. And so a good conversation in the middle of the nest might bring a place of peace and understanding. The other reminder I got was not that it's something that we can't create, but that there's a need to surrender to the divine that does bring peace, right? And we can try every trick in the book, but probably the most peace is when you stop, take a breath, and remember that God's got this. We don't have to fix our neighbor. We don't even really have to fix ourselves. And so much of that is where the anxiety comes from, is trying to fix everything and everybody. And God's got this. God gave your annoying neighbor that exact annoying trait because somewhere in the world that annoying trait is needed in some circumstance. And as hard as that is to accept, I have found it to be true over and over and over again. So peace, letting go. Letting the old phrase, if you're old as me, let it go, let God, right? Trusting that holiness holds us all is the greatest source of peace, I think. Any other thoughts? Let's move into a time of prayer. our prayers during this Advent and Christmas season, we are taking the opportunity to practice being fully present in the moment. The scriptures say, "Be still and know that I am God." And as we have heard, Jesus speaks often about staying awake to what God is doing in our lives. So we begin our prayers with a series of 3 questions, each followed by a short silence. So I invite you to take a deep breath and close your eyes if it brings focus. And consider this first. Who was a gift of presence to you this week? And did you experience their attention in a way that felt like a special connection? And consider this. How did you offer yourself as a gift of presence? What did it feel like to extend your attentiveness and availability beyond yourself? And did you notice how it made a difference to someone else or to yourself for you to be truly present to them? Is it possible that God's presence is felt more acutely in these moments when we truly tend to one another? What could you do this coming week that would allow God's gift of hope to flow through you to someone else?
To see your light, open up our hearts to clench so tightly, stealing like a thief and steal our hearts like a baby, like a baby.
I'm wondering if there are prayers to be lifted from the congregation this morning. We hold the world in prayer. We hold in prayer all of those areas that are locked in violent conflict. We hold in prayer the hearts of those who cannot let go, who believe that violence is the only answer, who cannot find peace within themselves, cannot trust. Those who are living in fear, those who have been oppressed so long they don't believe anything else is possible. May the world know we hold you in the light of Christ. We hold in our hearts those from our congregation who are struggling, and all of those in our circles of friends who are struggling with health issues, who have lost loved ones. Please know we hold you in the light of Christ. before this congregation.
Prayers of recovery for Grace, who's going through a really tough medical situation.
Grace, please know we hold you in the light of Christ.
Prayers for Sherry and Dick as they enter a new phase of his lives.
Sherry and Dick, please know we hold you in the light of Christ.
Prayers for Grandma Gladdy as she enters hospice care.
Grandma Gladdy, we hope you know we hold you in the light of Christ. In this prayerful present moment, we ask you, Christ Jesus, the greatest gift of all, to help us savor our journey toward the celebration of Christmas. Help us recognize and create moments of sweet presence rather than filling the voids with the things that do not last. Help us to stop, notice what we're experiencing, and accept it with open hearts and minds. In doing this, we allow you to meet us in the right here, right now, right where we are. Amen. Open up our eyes to see your light. Open up our hearts and so tightly, stealing like a thief and steal our hearts like a baby, like a baby. Open up our eyes to see your light. Jesus gathered with friends. Jesus gathered with friends, and he found peace by going off on his own to talk to God. Those friends with whom he gathered on the last night that they were together, they shared a beautiful meal, a special meal. And while they were eating, Jesus took a simple loaf of bread, and he offered a blessing first, and then he broke it. And he gave it to his disciples and said, "Take and eat of this bread, and remember that in the same way that this bread is broken today, my body will be broken." And then he took a cup after the meal had ended, and again he paused for a blessing. And he gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and drink from this cup, all of you, and remember that in the same way that this cup is poured out, my blood will be poured out." So whenever you eat this bread, whenever you drink this cup, do so and remember me, and remember this table, and remember our time, and remember our love. And so we call upon the Spirit of the risen Christ to bless this bread, to bless this cup, and to bless each and every one of us in our eating and drinking, that we might become the body of Christ for this time and this place. Come, for all is prepared. God of all grace, may we live in expectation and hope, and may the gifts we have received at this table remind us not only of the gift of your Christ, but of your steady presence among us, that we may act faithfully in response to your love. Amen. So, you've already heard the words once. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow knew the chaos and sorrow of life, sinking into a depression after his wife had died and his son was badly injured in the Civil War. So when Longfellow heard the bells on Christmas Day, he was encouraged that peace could come again one day to a troubled nation. And we carry that same hope for peace today. So would you please rise and let's sing together. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and mild and sweet their songs repeat, of peace on earth, goodwill to all. And thought how as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to all. Till ringing, singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day. A voice, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to all. Yet in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to all. Then peal the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor does not sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail. With peace on earth, goodwill to all. As we strip away the cluttered surface of our lives and become more present in every moment, we may be disturbed by what we can now see in the open vista, especially the suffering of the least of these. We are no longer numb to the cries of those hurting. We ache for the violence humans do to one another and to the earth. We see all people and all creation held within God's love and life. Our comfortable lives are disrupted as we ask new, hard questions, but being more mindfully present will also bring greater awareness of God's presence, peace, and clarity in the midst of it all. So now, go and be truly present so you may be a gift of presence for others. That's all that is expected. That is the gift that is you, is the best gift you can give. In the name of the Holy Presence, the divine gift, and the spirit of hope that is just waiting for us to unwrap abundant life. Go and may the peace of Christ go with you. Amen.
Hallelujah, every day is a gift from God.
Mine is just way over here right now. Should I grab the other one?
I'm reading Murray's interesting book. I don't know if you'd like it. Yeah, it isn't very pleasant, that's true.
One of my kids kind of a love story, but it took place right after the Civil War. And about a southerner that tried to make a home up in Boston. Patty was yeah, it's a main story. I mean, you know, and the fire in there was compared to whatever anyway, we're done at the same time.
Oh yeah, you know, a lot of the research, I mean, these are really clear on
Based on, yeah, which that makes it interesting. Yeah. Well, we'll have some more videos. We got lots of things over here.
Well, yeah, they had all this big meeting here yesterday.
And then that works.
It's nice to feel simple.
Well, yeah, There's an